the Wednesday, April 8th, 2026 Board of Education meeting, committee meeting with the roll call. James, Kaisa, Corey, myself is here, Jan is absent. We're gonna move to item 2, administrative and department reports. We'll start with review athletic software. Jeff Hahn.
Oh, thank you very much. So I'm Jeff Hahn, athletic director. There is, in your packet, there is a handout here that compares our bound situation. So athletic software, essentially, the software company that we were using before was called Our School. It got bought out by Arbiter. Arbiter fumbled the handoff, and Bound swooped in and is eating up the conference and the state at a fever pace. So we have, as a conference, we've decided to switch to Bound. It's gonna have some more usability and more features that we plan to use in the district. Along with the scheduling and referees assigning and game worker assigning and what's the other? Registration, athletic registrations. It also has the ability to do facility management, and that'll talk directly to the athletic schedules. It also will run our digital ticketing and passes, so we have the opportunity to go, instead of going through GoFan, which is what we do right now, which is a completely separate suite, this would now be part of our athletic budget, or part of our athletic program. It comes along with an app for families, so that way registration goes through there. Once they register, their family, those kids' schedules are automatically pushed through the app to the parent, essentially. Messaging also goes through there. Currently, so down to the financial implications of it, previously, Our School was $1,050. We were paying for registration, their registration suite and their activity scheduler. We currently use Follett Facility Scheduler for $22.50. That's separate than Our School, and we typically use Remind.com right now at the high school to communicate with our athletes, as opposed to using email. And we also communicate to staff and we communicate to parents that way. So right now, a total, that whole suite is $5,272.50. In Bound, the Bound software is $4,000, you get the whole suite. It has the same capabilities as the facility schedule, as I said. I will say the Remind, I think, still has the edge on Bound a little bit. They're a little bit, it interacts with a phone a little bit better, so parents, like for me, or a parent that doesn't have their email on their phone, it'll actually go right to their text. I don't know if Bound will do that yet, but I would imagine Bound will eventually get there, because they're a pretty forward-thinking company. So we still may choose to use Remind. The nice thing is Remind is a year contract, and it was just updated in January, right? So we've got that all the way through January. So if Bound communication is not great, then we can decide that we're going to stay with Remind. Bound Pro, we end up essentially, if we offer digital ticketing and cards at at admissions, we get a $2,000 discount off of that $4,000. So the total would be $2,000. So in all, that would be, if we do replace Remind with it, that would be like a $32.70, savings. If we go to Bound Pro Plus, we get a $4,000 discount. The entire price is discounted. There, what we would have to do is we'd probably go cashless at ticketing. So we would do all credit card purchases for game tickets, for passes, and they could also order online through the Bound app and get the ticket ahead of time like they did in GoFan. Some of the things that have been nice about that is, I guess I expected a little bit of pushback because we used all cashless ticketing at a track meet down in River Falls, and we really didn't get much pushback on having to use a card for it. We just use cashless for prom, for our junior senior prom, and people really have really enjoyed having the ability to buy those passes at any point through the GoFan app. This would be now through the Bound app. In fact, we had more people hit the early bird special or early bird prom price than before. It used to lag on and they'd have to pay an extra $10 because they just forgot their stuff because they're a kid and they didn't bring the cash for a couple of weeks. So that's where we're sitting there. I guess for local school decisions, Altoona has gone Bound Pro Plus. They're trying to go completely cashless, and they already kind of have with GoFan. When you walk up there, you have to either have a ticket from GoFan or you have to use your card. Yep. Bound Pro, Amory and Baldwin have done that so far. It sounds like a lot of the other conference schools are trying to do that as well. St. Croix Falls has gone to St. Croix Falls has gone to regular Bound Pro. So we would be, if we would go Bound Pro Plus, we would be a little bit ahead of the curve there. But it has been for the last 3 years, every time I go to an ED meeting, everybody's trying to move to a cashless admission system anyway. So I don't know if that's something that we wanna jump on right away or not. I think I do feel like if we don't go completely cashless, we're never gonna go completely cashless. It's gonna be an uncomfortable piece at some point for some people. Our 65 plus get in free anyway with their Gold Pass, so then we are in a situation where our less excited users of apps are gonna get in free anyway, so they don't have to manage the app piece. Fees are 90 cents per ticket for any tickets that are $10 or less, which is all of our game tickets. But if you buy a pass through them, when we use the pass, it'll be 90 cents plus 5% on that. So our $100 pass would be $105.90.
What happens if a 7-year-old man comes to a basketball game for the first time and he doesn't have the Gold Pass? Do we help them get that?
Yep, we help them get that. Yep. So we will have, and we're trying to work through the conference right now where they would get a conference standardized pass that, okay, now that you just get it at our place, now it's gonna also work at Ellsworth if they end up going to Ellsworth. So it'll look a lot like just a laminated piece that you have in your wallet. It'll have their name on it. We'll take the name down on our record sheet too.
And do we have a fee that we have to pay by leaving GoFan? Is there like a contract we're breaking?
No, cause GoFan really works. I mean, all these companies, I was kind of surprised that we didn't. Yeah. But when we got into this, I think GoFan just lives on their ticket, on their ticket
Yeah,
fees.
percentage.
Really, yeah, the percentage.
Okay.
So.
That's good.
Yeah, we don't have to step away from that. And actually, we could stay with them too for a while, but I don't know why we would have another platform that does that.
So you need a decision, some direction from the board as far as whether we're going cashless or not?
Correct. I mean, as representatives, that are liaisons between our community and the school, I think some advice on whether we should go cashless right away or whether we should go just offer cashless for.
Can we think on it a little bit and bring it back for a future board meeting? Is there a timeline? Like, what is your?
I'm a little bit stuck on a timeline because until I sign that contract, I don't have access to get into and start setting Bound up.
Okay.
So I'm a little bit tight on that piece.
And I would say this wouldn't be a typical board action item. I think it's not something you would approve, or it's just, how do you feel about it? What are your thoughts? What are some things that you think that we should be considering as we make that move? Because we say cashless, and when we talk to the Bound people, they're like, yeah, we understand, we're not gonna come and audit you, but we want, in order for us to save some money, that's the intent of going cashless. And the other benefit of going cashless, right, is less people counting money, so being more efficient that way too.
I'm assuming concessions wouldn't change, we'd still have.
Concessions would still be cash, mainly because we know that young kids are running up there with a fistball full of dollars after their PD bank.
So will people be turned away if they in fact don't have cash?
If they don't have a card or a way to pay, I think that's, I don't think that's what we would be doing. But I don't.
We have never really turned people away though, when they come now, the situation see that starting, and I think what Jeff is saying too, it's most people right now, you go to places, I'd say most, they're getting used to this cashless thing, right? But we've even had some families before, or individuals that might forget something, you let them through. If somebody says, hey, I'm 65 years old, they don't have something on them, we let them through.
Correct.
So we don't have any arguments at the gate ever, it just, and most people we know in our community, like, we know who those people are. It's maybe somebody that's usually new to a different school.
Right, and that's why we're going to the
And-
65 plus pass.
Yes.
So that way you don't have to have that conversation when I say, oh, you 65?
It's an awkward conversation.
And if they're not wearing green and white, we do kick them out.
Right.
Well,
Especially if it's purple or black.
and that goes to the question I have about going across the middle border or just here, like,
Yeah.
cause we could promote it here, like parents, okay? They would just, I would promote my parents to buy the season pass, cause then they come to more stuff, you know what I mean? They'll come to the football games, come to the thing, you pay for it once and you bring your card, you know, as an incentive to come, you buy the whole season and you're done,
Right.
and you don't have to go pay it all in the door.
Yep, yeah,
How you sell it is key a little bit.
yes, I think, I would agree, I think, how do you sell it somewhere else? That's where you're gonna get a little bit of pushback from other people from Ellsworth or something like that, okay. Well, so I have to rely and we have to trust our ADs at the other spots to say, hey, we're going to Osceola, you gotta bring a card or you gotta buy this.
Ahead of time.
Buy this ahead of time through the app, which is, which takes a little bit of planning. But I think also the fact that we have card readers, we really don't have that many people that walk through without credit card now.
And we've been doing that as we go to other places. We've seen you sending that messaging out, saying, hey.
Yeah, if it's a different situation, then we have to make sure we tell everybody. And I do think that the conference is gonna go to cashless, gonna continue to move towards cashless. So, for admissions anyway. I would like to start accepting cards as well as cash at concessions eventually.
Yeah, right.
And this bond will let us do that.
So I guess we were looking for, if there's a hard no, if we don't wanna take a step into this world at all, then we will hear that and make a different contract, but if not, then we'll step in, because the other thing is, we can also step out, if it becomes a nightmare, we can make changes too. But it's a money savings for the district, for sure, because I think you can see there, like, right now, our current facility scheduler will change to Bound, so that's gonna be a lot of work internally to change to a new software, because we just had, I think ML scheduling is probably 3 years we're in, but to be able to have something that's connected right to our athletic software makes a lot of sense.
I'm good with that.
Yeah.
That's fine, I should take.
Same here.
Okay. All right, so we feel good about moving to Bound Plus and going cashless at the door. Okay. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it tonight.
Thank you.
I think last time I did, my, report, I think I forgot to mention that our boys and girls cross-country team both also qualified for state. I know I said that once to you before, but I think I forgot in the last report. And, which is weird, because I went to that thing and I was terrified the whole time that I was gonna get in the way of a runner, so. So I appreciate your time, thank you very much. I'm gonna head back to conferences.
Good luck.
If you don't have any questions.
No, thank you.
All right, thank you very
Thanks,
much.
Jeff, thanks for being here. All right, next up, we'll do our Cross Anderson facility study update.
Bye, Dave. Thank you.
Okay, you wanna introduce yourselves and?
Yeah, for sure.
Can we go
Go
first?
ahead.
I'm Sarah Van Hutton. I'm our Director of Marketing with our K-12 sector, so here to kind of just support Travis and continue to help you guys as we communicate what your needs are.
I am Travis Stevenson. I'm the Senior Facility Assessment Manager. I lead up the K-12 division and boots on the ground and walked all the buildings here, and we're gonna roll through kind of a 30,000 foot level of what we saw and deferred maintenance needs, dollars and those things. And there's still, one thing I'm gonna just emphasize is there's still more work to be done on the backside of the spreadsheet of moving things around and sitting down with hunters. So when you initially see some numbers here, just know that these numbers are gonna change a little bit and move around as priorities and what years they'd want those in, but I'll try to explain that a little more as we get to those slides. So the agenda, we're gonna go through an overview, just kind of There's a capacity and educational study that's also being completed, and this is something separate from SGA that'll be communicated at a later time. We're gonna review this executive summary tonight, kind of our initial findings. We're gonna go over the FCI, Facility Condition Index. Basically what that is the deferred maintenance dollars versus a new building, and it's gonna rate out the building: excellent, good, fair, poor, critical. We'll go through those individually, what those look like, kind of that annual spend, cost breakdowns, just the basic overall, what we did for facility condition assessment, and just an FCA recap. I'll go to the second to the last bullet point. So we started our walk, I believe it was in February. We took a little pause with winter and Mother Nature, let the snow melt to come back and do the roofs and the exterior. We walk through and we go capture all the existing pieces of equipment: windows, doors, roofs, mechanical pieces, elevators, interior construction, all the things in a school that are existing. It's not anything that could be or, is gonna be or anything changing. It's all the existing pieces that we capture, and they are assigned through an ASHRAE or an IFMA rating that'll give them a life expectancy of 20, 30, 10 years. And based on that and condition, that's how they'll fall into a spreadsheet, and that's how we kind of arrive at our numbers. And just because something only shows 20 years doesn't mean at that 20-year mark, oh, hey, we gotta replace it today. Hunter will be able to judge and decide, hey, this piece of equipment is doing really well. We can move this down the line on the spreadsheet. So those are the types of things that we'll be doing here down the road with this spreadsheet. So we looked at all the buildings, 458,000 square feet. All buildings scored out in that fair range, which is actually really good. It shows the investment the district has made in those buildings. The elementary, which we'll go through a little bit later in the slide deck, came in the poor range. There's a little bit of work to be done. It's a little different look at that, but we'll kind of show you that. So this number, and don't get hung up on the $54.6 million in maintenance, deferred maintenance needs. These are dollars, like I said, of that dollar amount, about 17, when we get to the slide, it's 17.3, 17.4 is in that elementary. Until what's decided with that building, those numbers might not be realized. Again, sitting down with Hunter, moving things around, reprioritizing. Some of these things could slide off to 10 years. Right now, everything is kind of within that 10-year window, but there are things that are beyond that 10 years. So we'll kind of go through that once we get to that.
Yeah, and I'm just because the 54 million comes so early in this slide deck of just like explaining, Travis kind of teased this a little bit, but that's like every asset in the district based on its life expectancy. So as he walks through this, realizing that a lot of these things might just need a new belt, it doesn't need replaced fully. And so as we kind of walk through that, so this number being so early on seems very alarming, but be patient as we kind of talk through what that rebalancing truly looks like.
And that's the last bullet point here. We'll continue to work with Hunter and his team, and we'll rebalance this, reprioritize, and move things. And the nice thing with the spreadsheet, it's a live version. It's something that's actionable. You can make shifts. If there's something way out in 2032 that comes up to 2028, you can slide that on the spreadsheet. It's no longer in that 3-ring binder. So you're able to make these changes as they go, and they're able to utilize these in the 10-year buckets, and they can move things, reprioritize, and as they go, they'll have a working spreadsheet to work with as they move forward. So this is just kind of an example, the executive report. The portal page is on the lower right. This is what the district will have. All their items, the exec summary, which is kind of what we're going through now, and all the different things they can look into. There's a digitized site report, which is all for reference and not reading. It's about a 3,000-page document that takes all the stamps that we did out in the field, and it shows where we took it, what the issue was or what we were looking at, what the age of it, what the condition is. So that's on the electronic version. And then all the photos we took are in there. Additionally, all the maps, we do something called OST, so all the parking lots are quantified and there's a takeoff, so the district will know the exact square footage, so it'll be at their fingertips where if you need to go out and, get a quote for, restriping or a seal coat or a mill and overlay, you'll be able to take that number right to the contractor. Likewise for the roofs and interiors, all those things are within the document. The star of the show is lower left, that's the spreadsheet. It's a spreadsheet on steroids. It's, the colored things are rating the conditions, and then to the right of it's criticality. The green is low, being low criticality, carpeting, painting, things that don't impact operations. The yellow is medium criticality, doors, windows, those things, you know, they need to be working and secure, but things that won't impact operations. The red, are your high level, pieces. Those are the things that could impact operations if they fail. Boilers, air handlers, roofs, things of that nature, main switchgear. So this is kind of just bullet points of, the major deferred maintenance needs, and based on kind of condition, years, dollar amount, and things that the district within the 10 years will have to look at doing. At the high school, we got turf replacement, and it's 2013, 2014 complex, so that turf is about, you know, it's getting up 16 years old, 15 years old. ASHRAE on that is 10 years, so it's actually outlived its life already. So eventually within the 10 years, that turf will have to get replaced. Tennis court replacement, there's 4 of them right now that are, I mean, they're playable, but they're not probably competition playable. There's 4 of them that are resurfaced, redone, that look very nice, but there's some water issues back there, so that'll be something for further discussion down the road as to what to do, but there are dollars put in there for fixing those, but that might not be the solution. And then the parking lot improvements, the main one at the high school, it did get a crack seal completed last year. That'll give that, you know, like a 2 to 3 year Band-Aid. Those cracks will come back. You know, that's a process that can be repeated, but eventually over the years, you'll have to get into and do a mill and overlay. At the middle school, parking lot improvements, some select replacement. In the pool area, you're probably gonna be looking at some renovation at some point, either regrouting or doing a little bit of work in there. In the pool locker room area, just with some of the lockers, repainting them, and overall upgrades there. Pool equipment, within the 10 years, some of that will need to get replaced out, generator and some electrical components. Intermediate, again, parking lots, will need to be some work there within 10 years. Some building envelope, just kind of caulking those joint lines, tuck pointing looked great, but the rest of it just will need a little caulking. Those are original roofs, so those will definitely come in the plan here, probably, you know, within the first 5 years. And then those boilers are, they're working, they're original. There's about 20-year life on those, so those are past that 20 years, so those will be something that'll have to get replaced here within this 10-year plan. Elementary, it's quite a list. Parking lots, windows, doors, roofs. There's 2 ramps in the hallways. You probably all have seen those. There's non-ADA compliant, so those would have to be really redone if some major things were done within the school. Along with the bathrooms, they're not ADA compliant. The HVAC and the controls replacement. There's a lot of older equipment. With all that work, if that was all done, you'd probably be looking at putting in a fire sprinkler system, because you'd probably hit that threshold. Electrical switchgear, some LED upgrades, and a generator replacement. Plus garage, parking lots out there needing some little bit of work and attention, a little bit of select roof replacement, not all of it, and then their lift replacement, their 6-ton lift, that's original, and that thing will time out. It's not a huge cost, but something that's kind of on their wish list and probably need to be looked at here in the next 10 years. Tried to make this as big as possible. This is a big pie wedge for the entire, this is for the high school. So the gray is the roof. Equipment, furniture would be in that blue area. Site work would be in the upper corner, and then HVAC controls, or HVAC controls would be in that darker blue, just kind of giving you a snapshot of, all the 17 divisions of construction, where the dollars would be, you'd be looking at. So for the high school, and again, this is without doing a rebalance, you're sitting in the fair range, which is really good. I wish they would change that fair. You can see where fair is from 0.11 to 0.30. You're sitting really, really good. 17.6 million as we sit today, but that number will probably shift. So this is the annual spend, and this is how it sits right now. When I first did the spreadsheet 27, it was, you know, all the way past 4 million, because everything past 20 years generally will hit that first column. So I've done a little bit of a pre-rebalance, knowing that we'll have to go in and go through all the line items. But this is kind of what it looks like per year. This will ebb and flow and change a little bit as well. This just give you an example of the 3 things that were on that list. Parking lots, you can see upper left-hand corner. Those are, you know, you can see that they've been crack filled. They're not in terrible condition, but there'll need to be something done within the 10 years. Probably another, you know, get one or more of these, and then you're probably still looking at a mill and overlay at the end of it. Upper right is the tennis courts. That's one of them that's needing to be resurfaced, and then the football field. Wish I was taking a downward angle. The granulars are starting to pop through, and it's kind of got that receding hair look right now. You can see it's where it's getting really, really thin, where, you know, eventually that will get replaced. Moving over to the middle school, same type of slide, just a pie wedge where your dollars are going to be coming in. With the middle school interiors, a lot of that major dollars, why that one's a little bigger. The pool renovation, those things just cost more. And again, HVAC, and you got site work, all the various pieces are in there. Mirror image of what the high school, really close in FCI. What I did point out in the last slide, that you can see as work is done, that FCI will slide from that fair usually into even a better range of fair, or even into the good. You're gonna see set differently where that pendulum is gonna have a downward swing with your intermediate, your high school, your middle school. At the elementary, that pendulum is swinging this way on that FCI, where it's going into that poor, almost into that critical range. Here's where the middle school sits. Again, a lot of rebalancing that will be done, but right now that's where it kind of looks like for the 10-year spend, 10.6. Here, parking lots, a little more parking lot area. Again, one of the roofs, there's not all of them, there's a lot of them that were replaced with TPO, so there's still a few to go. Lower left, that's just an example. There's some peeling of the lockers, the grout and everything for floors look okay, but kind of probably a sandblast and repaint of the lockers. The lockers themselves are okay. And then the pool area starting to show a little bit of wear and tear. Does have new liner, but with pools and the chemicals and the chlorine, it's always a little corrosive, so it's going to constantly need maintenance for those things. Just an example, some of the pool pieces of pool equipment, and then generator on the right that's currently inside. Recommendation would be, if that were to be replaced, to move that outside the building. Next we'll move on to the intermediate. Again, gray being the biggest pie wedge, that's the roofs. They're all original. There's processes that can be done, you know, to save money. You can strip the membranes and just do the outer edges if the insides are good, but that's something that can be looked at and vetted out later down the process. This one, obviously being a newer building, that FCI, and it if those roofs, and I played with the numbers, if those roofs are done, this actually goes to almost on the line between fair and good. So it's just that close, and obviously the roofs will be done within the time within the 10 years, so that FCI score is definitely gonna improve. So here's what this one looks like right now. And again, it's gonna change. Didn't wanna put everything in the first year, so we just moved it down, and as, you know, where things are prioritized, those things will kind of fall into the list there. So here, more seal coat, this parking lot, crack filling, things of that nature. There wasn't a lot of alligator cracking, so some crack filling and sealing on parking lots probably will do for now, but maybe by the end of the 10 years, you're probably looking at that mill and overlay. The right photo, you can kind of see it, but what tends to happen on these ballasted roofs, the edges start pulling away and the glue lets loose, and then that's where that water starts to intrude underneath the metal, and that's where you really start to get those leaks. Picture your boilers and your pumps, and again, those are original. So OES, so the big gray, basically half the budget, well over half the budget is HVAC. The boilers are newer, the air quality in there, not really any air handlers. They have univentilators that are original, in the outside vents. Not gonna say they're clogged up or blocked or anything like that, but, you know, just to get those proper air exchanges, and then, you know, not a lot of cooling going on in that building, so, some of those pieces are put into that HVAC number. Hard to read, but this one is 0.44. Pour range is 0.31 to 0.50, so it's like more towards the crimson than towards the fair range. $17.9 million for the police, and again, this is with major HVAC, windows, doors, a lot of things going on there, interior renovation with those ramps to blow those out and put the ADA accessibility pieces in, kind of drives that number up. So for now, we put most of those needs in 28. A lot of those are past 20 years old, knowing that's not probably realistic. But for now, they sit there. They can be moved around or whatever's decided at a later date. Those decisions can be made then, but for right now, they're there. So an example, parking lots, right is one of the doors. Some of the windows, you can press on those windows and you know, basically you can't see daylight or pass a note through them, but the windows definitely need to be revamped. And the roofs are they're there, leaking and doing all the things, so they definitely need to be looked at, you know, getting replaced. Interior renovation, picture those bathrooms, hard to, with the pinch points and wheelchair radiuses, the 90-degree angles, trying to get through, pretty tough. Upper left is a picture of one of those ramps where you don't, it's the length, it's not that it's too steep, but it needs to be longer, and it needs to be kind of a step, plateau, step back down, and then up. Fire protection's in here, only because if this work does get done, it's probably gonna trigger that clause where you would need to put a sprinkler system in the building. HVAC, this is just a picture of these univentilators. This is what's bringing in fresh air. Also does your heating for the building. Got some original switchgear, LED upgrades, everything's T8 fluorescence there. And then generator replacement if that was chosen. Right now, that is it's a smaller generator, it's a baby. It supports a little bit. It does work, does function, but that would be one thing moving forward that probably would need to get replaced. Oops, sorry, go back. So lastly, we got the bus garage. Actually sitting pretty good. Inside, not bad. Need some resealing on kind of the exterior brick. That I didn't put in as a bullet point. That would be one of the things. Some of these dollar amounts, it's 954. We're not in the millions of dollars. Some of these things, I mean, the bus garage is going to turn back into the good side of the good range. A lot of the work is way out, 2035, but again, that could shift a little bit if need be. Again, exterior enclosure would be just, doing the seal of that brick, because that was not done, from the get-go. And here, parking lots, you got some pitting, you can get, go to Menards and throw some of those bags and, get some life on there to extend the life, but, there's a lot of pitting, a lot of alligator cracking, so that one's kind of at that mill and overlay stage. Some of the roof sections, are original, need to get replaced, and the last picture is that 6-ton waste. So just kind of a recap, all facilities with the exception of the elementary are in the fair range. It's $54.6 in deferred maintenance. Again, that's the number right now. That number will change once we go through and balance and do all those things. Our portion does not address any space adequacy or any. With that, thank you, and I will open it up for any questions.
So just to bring it up a little bit, remember there's 2 parts to the study. This is the facilities piece, and then we have the educational adequacy piece, which you'll get more information on further down the road. And also, I think it's important to say that, there was a time in this district where we were doing deferred maintenance every year. We had projects and priorities, and we went through, and I know Hunter has found those lists and sees that things haven't been done for years just because of our budget. And we have to say, right, we did have a $10 million deferred maintenance referendum that has helped us out incredibly. If we hadn't had that, we'd be in a much different situation.
Any question?
I don't wanna say it's for sure.
Any other questions, thoughts? All right, thank you.
Perfect, thank you, appreciate it, thank you.
All right, item 2 is administrator report, and let's start with Scott Newman. Scott Newman.
Sorry, I didn't hear that. Thank you. I want to start with my part here. Just a couple of congratulations to, the last, 2 weekends ago, we had some powerlifters that went to the national meet. And I just want to recognize those student athletes. Bree Alt took 3rd place at the national meet. She's currently a sophomore. Herbert Johnson took 5th place, senior. Dylan Kester took 7th place, senior. And Seth Marty took 12th place, a senior, at the national meet held in Texas. Gabe Smith and 8APR participated in the first time they've had a middle school division at the national tournament, so that was pretty cool. And our team, Coach Hunt didn't know exactly where they placed, but we must have been in the top 3 because we just got an invite to the Worlds, but he said, more like not going to that, but it's always cool to get an invite for that. Also, some cool things here for our kids. We've had a lot of great success, I think, with a lot of our clubs and whatnot we had this last winter. Our speech team, we've had 13 students qualify for the state speech event that's going to be held in Madison, and I just want to recognize those kids. I don't have their speech here or their presentation, but I have the kids: Sebastian Duncanson, Regan Matter, Kaylee Hall, Tegan Nelson, Eileen Green, Chase Omley, Hazel Wicklund, Charlie Hacken, Mary Alice Batchelor, Lillian Danucci, Eden Gilliland, Izzy Newman, and that's it. I don't want to name anybody else that may be qualified that I care about, but I don't want to give them a big, and Tristan Bell, sorry. Qualified as well. So congratulations to those kids making it to state speech. And also we have 7 individuals that made it to FBLA speech that's coming up in Green Bay. In event planning is Maddie Anderson, Courtney Selecta, Addie Williams. In introduction to retail and merchandising is Josh Karn. In introduction to social media strategy is Sylvia Demeling and Sarah Wiebrock. And project management is Owen Henningsgaard. So Still a lot of good things going on, and we always do, but just congratulations to those kids and the staff that, have their state events coming up. And also for you guys to know, on April 23rd, we are again this year we're gonna include our seniors. We just did juniors last year, but we're gonna be doing Feed My Starving Children again with, up at the, Polk County Fairgrounds. And, it's a pretty cool event, and what's nice is, remember years ago, we used to do a full Saturday, it was a long day, it's been a great day. But this time they're asking, we're just gonna have 2 hours, so that in those 2 hours, those kids got like 8 tables going, 10 kids at a table, give or take, and it's music's playing, and they do a really nice job. So we're gonna have, 2 groups of kids going up there on April 23rd. And then, I have Amanda's information as well, she was home ill today, so, bear with me as I work through this. As well, you see the April newsletter that was sent out last week to families. Today, our school counselors met with our freshmen, sophomores, and juniors, and talked about our schedule requests for next year. They're gonna be due on April 15th for all students. They met with the 8th graders last week, our incoming freshmen. Parent-teacher connection night is tonight for the high school. We have prom coming up, April 18th, coming up fast. So that's always a good night for the kids in the St. Clair River. Graduation planning, we had our meetings this last week, and we had our, as people probably saw on Facebook, we had our cap and gown day last week as well. But we're gonna be sending out the graduation week already planned to families here at the end of this week. So it's crazy to be thinking that, but it's coming up around the corner pretty fast. And then last on the list is, our OVA 26-27, which is up for approval for tonight. And just wanted to see, I know Amanda's not here, but if you guys had any questions from that presentation from last week, or from the last meeting. Okay.
Questions for Scott? Julie Bender.
Okay. All right, so talking as a whole here as a 4K4 system, April newsletter was sent out last week to all families. We also, during the month of March, we hosted our 4K roundup event, and we had over 50 families attend. And we always know that just because it was 50 families, that doesn't mean that's exactly where we're at. Not everybody can always make that event. We changed it up a little bit this year, and we wanted to make sure that our goal was just to create that environment where children were super excited and engaged and wanted to explore and build some confidence coming into the building. And then we had more of like a waiting area for parents with coffee and cookies, and just more of like a parent handbook and stuff. And we did not move forward this year with presentations or a building tour. So then afterwards, we wanted to make sure and reach out and get everybody's feedback on that, making sure that we're always providing the best opportunities, especially for our incoming brand new families. And we had about 20 of those families who were able to come fill out that survey. And we learned that many families, really enjoyed the setup, and we also learned that many families just wanted some more information, especially for the adults, and have some more one-on-one conversations. So we're going to be offering a parent night just for our incoming 4K parents during our spring open house, which that's next week already. So got that communication out and opening up the building once again, just to make sure that we are answering questions and getting all those new families super excited for joining us at the elementary school. We had our second annual literacy night, a huge success. So this is something that our 4K4 interventionist team, led by Patricia Kramer, they organized and put together. It was very exciting. We had over 100 families participate in a bunch of different reading activities and go through different pieces throughout the intermediate school commons and gym. So a huge thank you to that team. During that event, we also had one of the most successful since the last time I said that we were the winners, even a bigger win for us for this classic book fair. It was the best of all times ever in this whole entire world around this area, because we raised $10,548.27. I can repeat that, $10,548.27. It was so cool. And even better, the PTA, I don't really understand how all this works, but in the fall, PTA gives back to the schools. In the spring, PTA does something with the money for PTA, it still goes back to the schools, all the things. But this year, teacher grants. see, it goes back to school, but this year, the PTA said, you know what? You guys are the best in the whole entire wide world, so you're gonna actually be able to give that money back to the teachers, and we were able to fill classrooms full of books. So teachers got to come in and pick out a bunch of books that they're not able to always do and bring to their classrooms. It was very, very positive, and a huge thank you to the PTA. 10,548.27. Summer school, elementary, we're at 103 students. At the intermediate school, we're at 223. So numbers are getting up there, and it's very exciting. Board exam for our 3rd and 4th graders, we start assessing next week. And then, like I kind of said at the beginning, our spring open house is scheduled for next Wednesday from 4 to 6, and we're opening up that last half an hour for incoming 4K families. That's all.
Julie, I don't know if you said it, how much do we get in sales?
Yes, it was $10,548.27.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything for Julie? Darren Kane.
Good evening. So you see the April newsletters linked there for you. Give your monthly Pride updates. So we're up to 1,350 awards, 218 corrective tickets. We are holding strong with our ratio this year. Last year, we found that after spring break, the ratio decreased and there were more behaviors. So it's been positive this year. Summer school, big shout out to Bobby Driscoll. She started to get her schedule set up. We've got about 126 students signed up as of yesterday. We started forward testing today, so that's a big thing at the middle school, and just trying to set up that schedule and do all the small groups and spaces to meet those needs. So we've started that. Big shout out to our counselors who do a lot of work preparing, getting test tickets ready for that. So our testing window runs through the 24th of April. We have a few days at the end just to do makeups. We've had a few kids that are going on trips, so we've had them come in early to get started. So counselors done a great job with that. We just finished our 3rd quarter, so grades were made available to families yesterday. We celebrated our students of the quarter. On Tuesday, they came up and got some special awards along with our weekly Pride winners. On Monday, we did a little summary of our PD, so we did an engagement with storytelling thing with teachers. Basically just a reminder as they're so focused on their content to build that sense of community and make connections with the content. Really, it's a great way to just engage kids, whether they're a visual, auditory, or kinesthetic learner. It's just a great way to keep things flowing and draw that interest in the classroom. So we did a little work with that on Monday with teachers. Got a couple fun events coming up. Our after-school party will be the 24th, and that's a 5-8 party for all kids. I think last year probably we had 80 to 85% of the kids attend, so that's pretty good for an after-school party. We run 3 parties, 2 are during the day and then 1 after school. And then we have the 8th grade dance that the 8th grade teachers organize, which will be Friday, May 8th. That's all I got.
Oh, the 8th grade dance, one of my favorite awkward events.
Hey, you guys can come and chaperone if you'd like to.
Really busy.
It's always the debate of, I need to get out at noon so I can do my hair. No. All right, anywho, moving on. Thank you. Questions for Darren? Shannon Gridnell?
As we turn the calendar to April, we really start talking about those year-end processes and honing in on it. As you guys know, our fiscal year ends June 30th. So next week, I will be sending out an email to staff regarding year-end purchases, and we put that kind of a limit on that. May 31st is our deadline. We have to have products here by June 30th in order to have them count in this fiscal year. So then we begin setting up for 26, 27. We now are able to continue that budget work. We have the staffing kind of set. So the next meeting will bring back that fair model that you guys are used to seeing with some new numbers based on the items that we have done for the last couple of weeks. And then again, closing out this year's budget. I know.
All right, questions for Shannon? Becky Stutz?
All right, Kaisa, to answer your question about when we did that capital project of 10 million, it was April 2020. I just wanted to fact check myself, because I was gonna say it, and I was like, what was it? But it's nice. Thank you, yes. Preliminary, board election results, Corey Schmidt, 1392, John Green, 1153, Kaisa Martin, 1181. And those are primary because, or preliminary because until we canvass them, they are not considered elections.
And one seventy.
Second up there is bridge closure update. So there's somebody internal whose husband works for them and said maybe this isn't accurate information, but this is what the website says. It says fall of 2026 that will be closing, but just wanted to let you know that Steve has been very well aware. And I think some of the facts, right, we have 5 families that come over from Minnesota that use our transportation regularly, and it'll be about a half-hour increase to their round trip. And some of those families may decide that they don't want to, or they may have drivers. Some of them have some 16-year-olds that may get a car, so they don't have to be on a bus that early. They're still gonna have to drive extra, so maybe not. So who knows, but again, working to make sure that we take care of our families that are on the other side of the river.
We have buses that go over there, correct? Do we bill that transportation cost to Franconia? So with this added mileage, I'm assuming their transportation costs would go up?
Yep, so that's another piece that we do in the spring here, we meet with Franconia and go through the contracts, review them.
And so
We'll have that conversation, yeah. And then lastly, update on reductions. We're gonna go one way. Okay, as you'll recognize, right, this, the same kind of presentation, we talked about enrollment in February, in March, we talked about budget, and now here we are in April talking about action steps. So as we do every single time, we talk about our mission, say why do we exist as a school district, and our vision, our pillars of excellence, learning, growth, health, safety, communication, engagement, finance and operations, and of course, our core values. Pillars of excellence. That's all right there. So why are reductions necessary? Again, this is a very brief version of this, right? The state budget formula for public schools is outdated. You've seen this visual of the 3-legged stool. And then the significant funding gaps in specific mandates. One particular, right, is our special ed costs and reimbursement. So we're being reimbursed at a very low rate for a required program. And also in Osceola, the reason our reductions are necessary is we've had declining enrollment for a period of time. And again, bringing it to, it's not just an Osceola issue, this is the Wisconsin births. So since 2007, there's been an 18% decline in births in Wisconsin. And I thought it was super interesting that children who were born in 2007 graduate from high school. So it's interesting when you look at that graph compared to our graph and see how it has been declining as well. And then the other thing that we have going on in Osceola, right, is the graduation effect. And that's been going on, you can see since 13-14, we've had less kids coming in to kindergarten than we've had graduating. So we call it something internally as a team as right sizing. So right, intending to maintain a quality learning experiences for our students, but also aligning staffing and resources. Because we could, right, so not so long ago, we had 6 sections at every grade level. So that was 6 teachers teaching kindergarten, 6 teaching first, 6 teaching, and sometimes we had a bubble group of 7. And then we have removed that, it's been 5 pretty consistently. And now we're taking a step back to 4. So starting next year, all of our classes will, besides 2 grade levels, 4K4, will be at 4 sections, unless something changes over the summer, in particular in the younger grades. And really important to point out, we are still within our class size ranges. We don't have a policy on class size, but we're still within our class size ranges that we know, based on community surveys, our families want smaller class sizes for their kiddos. We've used attrition and retirements when possible, but also we aren't automatically saying, oh, this person's retired, this is gone. An example of that would be our family consumer science program. That teacher's retiring, we could have very easily said that's a 1 program person, we can just X that out. We looked at our students and we're like, that's a really important program. and we wanna have well-rounded students. So we posted the position and found a really high-quality applicant, so we're excited to have that. In other places, retirements do mean not being replaced. And right, we continue to try to plan responsibly for long-term sustainability and high-quality student experiences. So again, why are reductions? Budget, decline enrollment. So this is the third year in a row that we've sat and had these conversations. So in 23-24 is where we started on this journey, and that's an FTE certified staff. So the reductions of 10 FTE, 2 admin positions were reduced, and 4 support staff. So about $1.2 million. Now again, remember, when we give people increases, this amount, right, doesn't appear like, oh, look, I can see that 1.270 in the budget. It doesn't work that way. In 24-25, similar chart, 7.5 FTE of certified staff, 3.5 of support staff, and then we added some department cost savings in specifically. And you can see I have as of today, because this work isn't done right now in the district, but all staff that have been impacted by reductions have been notified. So this is where we're at right now. We have 10.2 FTE of certified staff, 5.375 FTE of support staff, and then department savings. So the next slide is the totals, again, as of today. So in the last 3 springs that we've been together, we've reduced 27.7 certified staff members, 2 administrators, 12.875 support staff. And again, please remember, some of these were needed because of right sizing, and some of them were strictly budgetary. There are positions that if we could still have a mental health navigator, we would really like that. That would be very helpful for our students and staff, but we aren't in a position to have a position like that. And you guys haven't seen it like this before, but we've talked before about where are these reductions happening. So when it says district, that would be district level departments. That would be school nutrition, transportation, district level positions, building and grounds, and then the rest are building. The other reason to show this is because it's the lower levels of grade levels where we have the lowest class sizes. Like the high school still has all of its grade levels are over 100, but their freshmen are the lowest class size that they've had. And then when they get the 8th graders, I think that'll be the first group that's below 100. So when you look at that map across, right, when you think of all of us trying to make these decisions, we did district-wide first because that impacts students less, right? And then we did OES, OIS over the last 3 years. These all didn't happen this year. These are 3 years worth of changes. We did those to right-size the district. And then middle school, and then high school.
So that number will be moving, if we continue on the trend up into the middle and high school.
Correct.
And less at the OIS level though.
Yes.
Yeah.
And again, you guys always see this, you know, that this is why we're here. It's easy to get lost in the numbers, and that's all we wanna talk about, because math is easier than people, right? So what wonders do you have? What questions do you have? Thoughts?
It's hard work. I just think the other piece too is there's also a lot of people who are also carrying extra responsibilities too.
The students are less, the work is not less. As a matter of fact, with regulations and documentation and all of those things, in a lot of cases, it's increased.
Absolutely. And so have many of the needs of our students.
This is true. And we wanna do what's best for students. There isn't anybody that sits around this table that's saying, oh, this is easy, we'll just slash this, and no, it's hard conversations.
And that runs out your admin slots? Okay. Questions for
Thank
Becky?
you for putting that together.
And so that you know tomorrow, that will be shared with families. So just, the slides will be shared, but also email, because I think it's really, really important that our families understand that it's not class sizes yet that are impacted. We continue to try to do that work without asking taxpayers to pay more and making sure our kids have a high quality experience. But Osceola looks different.
And some people don't understand how other districts look, like when they saw the class sizes in Chisago Lakes, where they've got like 30 plus kids in a classroom where we're still under 20, even though we've had these drastic changes. We're still far from where other districts are at. I mean, I wish we were still not the changes that we've been making, but.
I also don't want there to be this fear that if they hear, oh, we're cutting down for class sizes, we're not increasing to those 30 size. We're also not going to 15 in a class.
Anything else for Becky?
Thank you for doing that.
Alright, item 3A, policy review for scheduled rotation, 0111, 0112, 0113, 0114, 0115, 0121, and 0132.
So remember, these are not for update, this is just to show that we've seen them and looked at them. I know some of you were very relieved when you saw some of the policies were one sentence long. Any questions on any of those? So there are no changes to show, these are just the policies and then.
You look at them.
Yes.
I appreciate that.
Alright, no questions on that one. We'll move on to item 3B, draft of the meeting schedule for 26-27.
Okay, so the question at hand was the October dates. So I know Jane isn't here, so do we go with for some reason, the 7th seemed like the second Wednesday, but it's really not. So it's the 14th and the 28th. When I originally did it, I had the 7th and the 21st, and really, I think it should be the 14th and the 28th to be the 2nd and 4th.
Because the first falls on a Thursday.
I would prefer the 14th and 28th.
June's.
Yeah, me either. It's fine with me.
And I know that works better for Jan. And then November. So the 11th is the second Wednesday, so should we just go with that one?
The 11th would be better on mine.
Yeah.
Well, not here July.
It should be fine.
I will not be here on July 15th either.
Alright, maybe we need to look in July. I will not be here this
I will not either.
Well, I don't have a little cool calendar in there though.
8th, 22nd, or 29th. I would be here the 22nd. I would not be here the first, I think, is out because it's holiday week. I would not be here the 8th or the 15th, but that is putting it late. I mean, I can certainly miss a meeting, it's absolutely 100% fine.
I can do 8 or 22, but I won't be here.
So maybe we ask Jan? What works for you?
Either.
Okay, maybe we'll ask Jan and see what works better for her.
Right now, should we leave it the 8th? Because that's what it sounds like.
3 of us will.
Yeah. And then she can give input no matter what.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay.
I'll just have it listed that way and then I'll share it with her. Awesome, thank you. Thank you for giving me the time to do that.
Alright. Item 3C is review employee compensation for 26-27. At the last board meeting, we took a look at in full what those different percentages would be, 2, 2.5, 2.6, 3, and 3%. This meeting, we bring forward 2 drafts of the schedules for certified staff, and then we have the support staff wage scale. There's 2 others that we'll talk about in closed session, just because individuals are named within those.
But for tonight, for your guys' review, you had received 4 different options. Again, 2%, 2.5%, 2.63, which is CPI, and then 3%. The recommendation from administration is that we do 2.63%. That is CPI, and the dollar amount between 2.5 and 2.63 as a cost to the district is very minimal. So to stay consistent with CPI, that would be our recommendation.
Questions, thoughts, comments, we will take action on it in the regular meeting tonight.
I just wanted to explain, since you're familiar with the award things, that it's not necessarily for each person that amount. Did you grasp that concept?
For certified staff.
Yes.
And the support staff schedules is set up differently.
Different.
Yep.
Yeah.
But so it's not each cell, we'll say each cell, cause there's not a person necessarily in each
Correct.
cell.
Correct.
So, and again, just to say, these are estimates, right, because we build these off of what we currently have on staff, because we have to have a starting point. So we have to take where every person falls into those cells and calculate it out. Now, we do know that there will be staffing shifts, obviously, so that number will fluctuate a little bit, but it's a general census of what that total dollar amount will be.
So it's not 2.6 on each cell.
Correct.
It starts in the teacher version, it starts here and spreads out. And people also, if they move up in the scale, like go down the scale or over the scale, they get additional increases too. So it's a lanes and steps in cells,
It's just more complex than you might think, and I just take a minute to consider that.
Is there an impact sheet in the budget?
There's a total, well, you saw the overall.
Yeah, we saw the overall last time.
So you saw the overall last time of what, all in would be. If you go to 2.63 for certified staff, there's a estimate on the bottom of what that, so.
So down at the bottom box.
The green number, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the increase to the budget.
Correct. Cause it's kind of looking at,
On this.
For this grouping,
yeah, Shannon explained it better than I did, but yeah, it's not, yes,
to protect the budget security.
right. But there's been confusion in the past.
Do we have that document, that's the total for each that we looked at last time? If we don't, that's okay, I just know, okay.
It'll take me a minute to shoot.
Would that be helpful?
Maybe, can we just have it for the regular meeting? Let's do that. No, one that shows
Oh,
all with the
all of it.
differences,
Yes,
yeah.
I got it, yeah. That would be great. Okay.
No, that's fine. Anything else on this item? No. Alright, item 3D, budget update for 25-26.
Quarterly, budget update that we bring, this is through the first quarter, which would have been in March. So as we, let me go to revenues first, sorry. As we look at revenues, as we start to get towards the end of that, the back half of our fiscal year, we start to see more of those revenues come in. You can see that we have now received the majority of our property taxes. In June, we'll make the final entry, because we don't actually receive the second half of property taxes until August, which is in the next fiscal year, but we get to realize those revenues in this fiscal year. If you wanna scroll down, you can see that, we have received a good portion of our equalization aid from the state. We get a large payment in March for that. We'll receive the final payment in June. We have received our per pupil aid. So if you go to the bottom, you can see we're about right on par where we were last year, 60% in on the revenues. When we come back again at the end of, obviously this quarter, you'll see these. And then if you go to the expense side, nothing that's, out of the ordinary when you're looking at comparison from this year to last year percentage. We will have it may look like we're maybe lagging a little bit on the payroll side, but that's because for those certified staff, we have to take those pay from July and August and put them back into this fiscal year. So once we do that, those salary lines will then increase the percentage wise. And if you go down to the bottom, what we really try to focus on is where we're at as a percentage on the budget. So we're at 58%. We're running better than we were last year at this time. Last year we were at 62%, so about 4%. positive. Question.
Right, 3E, review the E-rate project update.
Well, we wanted to bring you this information, cause you know, purchasing policy and everything, right? And when you look at these numbers, you're like, holy fuck, it's $145,000. What is this? But if you look at what E-rate is, it's a federal funding program, and it discounts up to 20 to 90% depending on what our property status and location is. So project one, is a wireless refresh, so you can see there's some consolidation of access points, which will save us some money, changing some data closets. So if you scroll down to what the cost is, you know, you look at that, and the district, pays, 40% of that, so if you scroll down just a little bit more, Tricia, it will show the actual. So that our actual cost of the project, and we have budgeted for that in our tech budget, so that you know that. And then the cabling refresh, again, infrastructure, like, we all love Wi-Fi when it works, and it's really important to education, but when it's not working, so we need to make sure that we, get and make sure that we're keeping ourselves up to date. Good news is, Hunter is going to be helping with the cabling project since our tech director is out. But that's where we're at with that. But these were just really big numbers, and, because we have the opportunity to cover for the tech director, Shannon and I are like, what exactly is this? And we decided you should know too. That's what we decided.
You know this really great.
What is cabling?
Cabling are the cables that run the, okay, I was like,
I was gonna start asking
did
some
see I was gonna
really
get Hunter to
in-depth
like tell me.
questions and really put you,
Yes,
put
yes.
you out of the.
But even like the subscription for Wi-Fi and data points and all of those pieces and parts, they also, just like we saw in our FCA, they have a lifetime and they have to be replaced. You can't just put stuff up and it just stays the same. So it's essentially recabling our whole district is what this will do. And thankfully, bid for E-rate, and we're able to do, and they have like a very extensive RFP process built in, so that's where we were. We just wanted to make sure when you see stuff like this come through the build list, you know what it is and why it didn't go through the quote-unquote process, because it actually already did in a more intense way.
Good, questions? All right, 3F, review summer school staffing.
Here we are, it's that time of the year, summer school signups. And then we have these numbers of staff are very similar to what we've had over the last 3 years. So this will be up for approval in our, when we get the contracts out.
Sounds good. All right, if there's nothing else, we will adjourn and reconvene at 6:30 for the regular meeting. Thank you, everybody.